Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe. I'm a Forbes contributor covering social entrepreneurship and impact investing. And today, we're in studio with a guest. This is Howard Leonhardt. Howard is the CEO, chairman, and founder of Leonhardt Ventures. Howard, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Devin.
It's fun to have you here in the studio. We rarely do this. This is probably the third or fourth time in 3 or 4 years that we've been doing this, 700 episodes, and so less than 1% are in studio. So it's great to have you here. So Howard, you have created in your career some medtech, biotech devices, and you're working to develop many more across a broad range that would really be life-altering, world-changing. Before we go into where you're going, I want to start with where you've been. Tell us about some of the things you've accomplished, things that are already your technologies that are in the market being used today.
Thank you for that opportunity. And, we've had a long road in this work to develop devices to try to save lives and improve lives. And we've had some successes and we've had some things that didn't work out as well as we would like. But in the 1980s, we developed a cardiovascular balloon catheter, patented that, and had a modest level of success. And then in the 1990s, we developed what today is the leading stent graft system for repairing aortic aneurysms without surgery. Previous to our technology, you had to cut open your chest, break your ribs, put a clamp on the aorta, and take about 2 to 4 hours to hand sew a graft in place. And we replaced that with a system that was placed with a catheter that you just make a small puncture in the groin about the size of a pencil, run it up to the aneurysm, pop it out in about 5 minutes, and you'd be done. No cutting, no breaking ribs, no clamping, no sewing. And the mortality rate and the lack of pain and the recovery time was superior. So we had a great success. We grew, when we first introduced that, we only had about 40 employees, and within 36 months, we had 550 employees. And just a short summary is we developed a percutaneous, a heart valve, an intravascular lung, and then starting in 1999, we developed the first company, and we had the honor to lead the first team in the history of man to use stem cells to repair a damaged heart without surgery. And it was quite a historic event, and we believe that that's leading towards the way of taking care of people in the future. We really believe in this movement of regenerative medicine based on stem cells, but also now on bioelectric stimulation, which is a complement to stem cell transplantation. And
so that's what you're doing. I think that's the key innovation, right? Is a lot of people are doing work on stem cells. A lot of people have been doing work on bioelectric stimulation. You've combined those technologies and found that there's real promise there, right? That's your big innovation.
The big innovation really, our intellectual property, which in our area, it's all about patents, but the key patents that we have are specific bioelectric signals for specific protein expressions on demand. And the granddaddy or the jewel of our chest is we patented an electrical signal that releases STF1, which is a universal stem cell homing signal. So wherever we point the signal, stem cells come to that location. When you scrape your knee, the brain naturally sends an electrical signal to the knee expressing STF1. It causes stem cells to come from your bone marrow to go to your knee and to grow the skin back on your knee. We've all scraped our knee and elbow.
Yes.
And what we
miraculous that works.
It's miraculous that works. And what we basically have done is taken those natural processes of regeneration. The same thing happens when you cut off a salamander tail or a starfish leg or any of the regenerative processes within nature. It's not just special to humans. And we've harnessed that. And we started with that one, and then we added one to help blood vessels grow, and then we added 8 other protein expressions, IGF-1, I won't go down the long list, but all of them relate to helping organ regeneration. So we have a stimulator pump, which is placed somewhere near the organ, and then we run a line to the organ, and we refill that pump with a 15-component regenerative composition. So our technology has 3 pillars: the bioelectric stimulation, which is really the key with 10 protein expressions, the microinfusion pump, which is special in itself, and then the 15-component regeneration composition. But we really think the bioelectric stimulation is really the coolest thing that we're doing that's hardest to copy. And we have high hopes for regenerating organs, and not only organs, but the entire body.
Oh, it's really cool. So I want to talk about a specific case. You created a business entity to regenerate a pancreas. Now that's important to me because my wife and son are both diabetics, and diabetics have pancreases that don't work right. I would love to get them a new pancreas for Christmas. So tell me a little bit about that technology, how it's coming, and when I can expect to buy them a new pancreas for Christmas.
We thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about that. We're really excited about it. We implant the stimulator pump and we run a lead to the pancreas, and we put a gentle conductive wrap around the pancreas, and then we run in the center of that wrap an infusion lead that goes into the center of the pancreas. So we kind of wrap around it and we go into the center, and it's placed with a small keyhole surgery. So this isn't a big open chest surgery. And then we run through the 10 protein cycles. We load up the pump every day or every week, depending on the protocol, with the regenerative composition. And the idea is to bring that pancreas back to the best shape that it's ever been, or even better. And we deal with the problem of inflammation, which often is the precursor of diabetes and lack of insulin production. We create super islets, which have been identified as the best tool to create insulin production and sustain it. And we can't make big claims about the safety or effectiveness yet. It's pretty early.
Yeah.
We've recruited a great team of people. Dr. Camillo Ricordi, who is chairman of the Diabetes Research Institute in Miami, one of the most respected in the field, and his resume goes so long I would take the rest of the show to talk about his qualifications. He's really gotten behind this and believes in it. We were just accepted for presenting at the upcoming Pancreas Conference in Chicago in October, and we really believe this is important. And I should mention that even though you don't have a direct contact with this, but oftentimes pancreatic cancer is a big issue. And Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, who was a hero of mine and many people, and had a big impact on the world, he was an example that having all the money in the world and all the success in the world, if your pancreas is failing, unfortunately, you go somewhere else. Yeah. And we have an electrical signal to stop cell division and to stop blood supply to tumors. Now, we don't have it fully proven, but we have shown it in the laboratory. We hit the patent office. So for pancreatic cancer, we want a 1-2 punch: stop the tumor and then regenerate the pancreas. And
but that cancer technology could potentially be applicable to all kinds of cancers.
It can, and this is a new emerging field, and there are a few others out there, and we have different signals. Our signals are really low voltage and pretty close to the natural signals that happen when the brain tries to deal with problems in the body. And somehow when people have cancer or people have organ degeneration, the processes seem to work in all of us. And all of us have the beginning of cancer at times, but our body somehow fights it off successfully. And all of us need regeneration. We regenerate our skin all the time. We regenerate parts of our heart. We regenerate our liver, our kidneys. Every organ in the body has a limited amount of regeneration. But for some people, somehow that doesn't work well enough and doesn't work long enough, and we kind of give those natural processes a booster. And we have high hopes for this.
So in fact, when you talk about your high hopes, you've said you have a goal, and that is to shift the human lifespan forward about 30 years. I mean, that's a pretty remarkable goal. And to sort of you've said to make 80 the new 50. How realistic is that? How does that feel to you in terms of achievability? Is that something you will see, or is that something our kids will do?
We don't want to make that strong statement too strong, because we really don't have that proven yet. But we have a goal to do that. And one way of answering it is I'm personally absolutely sure that is going to be accomplished in the future. Now, whether that's in my future of the limited amount of time I have left, or my grandchildren's future, but I'm absolutely sure that we're heading in that direction. And I mentioned that we have this stimulator pump with a wire going to the organ. Well, we've actually, in our own laboratories, already obsoleted our own product. And now we're using wireless energy to regenerate organs. And we really see, and we've hit the patent office with where this is going in the future, which is you line a chamber and you have your body scanned, and whatever organs are failing, you have a wireless energy delivered there that directs proteins and stem cells without having to implant anything or run any wires anywhere. It's not easy to pull that off, but we actually have completed a 47-patient clinical trial in Europe with diabetic foot ulcers, where we delivered wireless energy. We didn't deliver our 10 key proteins. We only delivered one of our 10. So it was kind of fighting a battle, but with 9 hands tied behind our back and fighting with only one hand. But with that one hand, we had pretty spectacular results. We had 95% healing of non-healing diabetic foot ulcers in 8 weeks across all treated patients. Now that was kind of an easy target because the wound is right, very easily reachable by wireless energy. Yeah. When we try to reach an internal organ like the heart or kidney or liver, it's a little more difficult because the bones and things are in the way and distort the signal. But we think if we keep at it, we're going to figure out how to overcome those obstacles. So
yeah, you've got a few weeks before the rest of the technology is ready. So
that is true, but we're working on it.
Now, Howard, your innovations don't stop with regenerative medicine. You're thinking about what you call regenerative economy. You've created an entity, California Stock Exchange, and you're trying to get that off the ground. What will that be when it matures?
Well, we were lucky to have sold some of our inventions in the past and to build up some funds to try to do more good things with. And for a long time, I practiced philanthropy. I gave large amounts to the University of Florida, Florida International University, University of Minnesota, and then I met John Mackey from Whole Foods. Got to have dinner with him, and he invited me to the Conscious Capitalism Society, and he kind of shifted my thinking to this idea of investing in social good impact enterprises, with the idea that you invest in something that's going to become self-sustainable and can create social good impact for a long time, even when I'm gone, and even if I don't have any more money to give away. And that was kind of the beginning of the California Stock Exchange, and we have a dream to create a stock exchange that only lists companies that treat people well, have a sense of community, a sense of purpose, their suppliers well, and don't necessarily just focus on quarterly capitalism, where they might cut R&D and move plants overseas and do things to try to prop up short-term profits, but they kind of sell down the road the long-term sustainability, not only of the organization, but of the entire economy. And we want to list companies that basically, care about the communities that they're in and that have a sense of purpose. And we actually believe that that's not just good for good's sake, but it's actually good business, because companies that treat people well and have a sense of purpose, we think are going to be companies where people are motivated to put in the extra effort to help customers and innovate things. And we have this grand dream, and we've launched the Cal X30 Social Good Impact Fund with the collaboration of Motif Investing, which is a registered broker-dealer, so we're following all the SEC rules. You can go online and you can invest as little as $9.95, which is the minimum, and buy a basket of 30 companies that we've identified. Now, these are public companies that have gone through a screening process, and you buy a basket called the Cal X30.
Essentially a mutual fund.
It essentially is a mutual fund focused on social good impact.
Fantastic. Now, Howard, I want to take advantage of having you here to ask you a couple of personal questions for the sake of other people who are interested in doing good. So first, obviously, you're a role model to a lot of people. Who do you look up to as a role model?
I had the great opportunity to have breakfast one day with the 14th Dalai Lama. And not only the impact of meeting him, but the impact of reading books that he wrote or books about him, has had a big impact on my life. And, some of the things that he's impacted me with is he believes that wanting to be a force of good for the world starts with handling your own mind. And we all are prone by animalistic tendencies to have envy and anger and jealousy, and to maybe even have knee-jerk reactions of anger often when somebody has done something that we don't like. And he teaches that, the first step of making the world a better place is to get that under control and to calm yourself, and to instead of expressing right away anger at people, to express compassion, and to be such a reservoir of good feeling that if somebody poisons that a little bit, it doesn't poison the whole lake or the whole river, because you're so full of goodwill. And then the other thing about him that is really amazing is that even though he's identified as some kind of religious leader, I don't really see him as a religious leader. I just see him as a great elder teacher. And he says that no matter what good intention you have or how many prayers you make, it doesn't necessarily translate to a force of good unless it's coupled with action. And that has been kind of a driving force for motivating me to work hard. And he's been a good role model for that. He's a hardworking guy himself.
That's great. Now, Howard, we all understand the need for better medical devices, and we would all like to live longer. What made you feel personally responsible for doing that? I mean, you jumped in and really made a huge difference in the lives of countless people already and hope to make an impact on billions more. Why did you feel that personal responsibility?
Well, I always wanted to have a sense of purpose in my work, and it really comes down to just a few moments that drive you on. And for me, I'll try to make the story short, but I got a call at 3 a.m. one day from Dr. Katzen, the director still today of the Miami Cardiac and Vascular Institute, and he explained that they had a patient that had a slightly ruptured thoracic aortic aneurysm, and they didn't want to cut him open, break his ribs, and clamp it because he'd already lost enough blood, and they thought that if they did that, he might be lost before they got done with the surgery. So he asked if I could couple together our invention, the stent graft, and get over to the patient to provide this. And he went on to tell me that the patient was in Vienna, Austria, but they had checked that there was a 6 a.m. flight leaving there. So I woke up and splashed my face and grabbed the stuff and got on the airplane and flew there. And shorten up the story, we did the procedure, and it was a little bit tough, but he came out of it and he no longer was bleeding into his chest, and we sealed off the slightly ruptured aneurysm and returned him to health. And the moment that impacted me, it was that we went to the waiting room, and Dr. Mendel said, I'd like you to come with me. And I don't have these experiences very often because we're usually in the back office part. Yeah. And there was two ladies there, and I could tell by their look and their ages. One was the wife of the patient and one was the daughter. And he starts speaking in German, and then he switches to English, and he basically explains, that invented this device and flew over, and that, likely your father and your husband wouldn't be here today if you wouldn't have done that, if they wouldn't have done that. And, they just looked up and they said in soft female voices, just 2 words. They just said, "Thank you." And, you say thank you when you pass the salt or when you open a door, but some thank yous are just a little bit bigger than other thank yous. And, when you have moments like that where you really digest the human impact of the technology and the purpose of your work every day, and you really feel it. I could feel it through the expression on their face. When we first entered that room, they were, intensely worried. I could see it, and they were tired because they had waited the whole night that I flew from the U.S. there. And then the relief and the special feeling, knowing that your dad's going to be alive the next day. And I just thought in my head that this young lady is probably like most going to have kids and going to graduate from school, and the father would have missed all of that, and now hopefully he's going to see all of that. And when you have impact like that, it's hard not to want to have a sense of purpose at work, because you get this feeling that work is important, and then you want to experience it again.
You can't go back to just crunching numbers after doing that. Now you've got to have purpose, mission. I see. Well, listen, one last question I want to ask. We ask all of our guests for an impact hack, some tip that would help us do more good. What is your impact hack?
Well, I have a diploma in international trade, and there's no reason that I myself should be an inventor of products for regenerated hearts. Classically, I'm not qualified at all. My advice would be not to let that stuff hold you back, that if you really want to do something and you work really hard at it, you come at a disadvantage when you don't come with the pedigree or the degree, because people naturally want to not believe in you because you're supposedly not qualified to be able to do that. But Steve Jobs didn't have a computer degree, and he did pretty okay with computers. Not that I don't believe in degrees. In fact, I totally love universities and serve on many because I believe in formal education. And if you're a young person, stay in school. But if you happen to be in a circumstance where you're thinking, you know, I'm not qualified to do this, there are other smarter people, I would overcome that and do what you really, you know, have in your heart that you can do, and get at it. Just work hard.
That's inspiring. I appreciate that, Howard. Thank you very much. Now, we appreciate you taking time to come by today. Before you go, tell us how people can learn more about your work and get in touch with you.
Thank you very much. And we have a catch-all website, which is Leonhardt Ventures. That's LEONHARDT Ventures.com. And thanks for the opportunity for being here today.
Fantastic. Howard, thank you very much for coming.
It's always a pleasure.
All right, let's do some good.
Thank you.